Hello and welcome everyone for another episode of the Battles Podcast. This is Hostman Thibaut, with his fellow associates, TV and Clint. How are we, gentlemen?
We good.
You good, Clint?
We good.
Hello there.
Hello there, Clint. As you can see, is in his summer attire. The days are finally warming up for us here down under, and it's been welcome. We've had
31 degrees today.
Had a rainy and cold winter. But the nicer days are finally upon us.
I actually had to change my jersey because it was a Milwaukee Bucks jersey, and I didn't want all our American viewers thinking I was a Milwaukee Bucks fan. No. So I had to put my Warriors jersey
on. Today on the agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about our life post Force Throw ban. We'll talk a little bit about the Perth PQ, which happened last week, which Clint and I played in and TV commentated. If you still haven't watched this, the replay is available on our channel. To start, Force Throw suspension. I'll start with you, Clint. How has your post-Force Throw life been?
I think it was a good and a bad thing. I still don't think they did enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I agree.
We're still seeing a lot of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things have fallen off, like Towson and Quinlan.
Yep, agreed.
Have fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
But then we've seen a resurgence in the Data Vault decks.
The Han ones.
And the Han ones.
Han one's back with a fury.
Yeah.
Which I think before, when we were talking about Force Throw ban, what potentially could happen, Han 1 and Data Vault was kind of one of those points that we touched on about, are we just going to go back to a set 4 meta? And I think that is true and it's not true. Like, both things are true at the same time.
Yep.
And there is still some stuff that's creeping up. So Han 2 Blue is still probably the top dog strong, at the moment.
Yeah. Still very strong.
But then we've still got this. We're still heading back into this grindy kind of meta. It wasn't very apparent last week at Perth. Like, I think it was still very fast paced. The meta in Perth last week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's more due to the personalities of?
It probably is. It is. But if we look at the Melbourne PQ yesterday, that was very grindy.
I'm looking at that right now because you talked about Han being the top dog, right? Han 2 still being the top dog. I cannot see a Han 2 Blue in the top 25.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because it's Han worth the risk, correct?
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
And again, does that come down to local meta? I mean, you can look at the top 2 in the results. You know, you got Ollie on Iden Data Vault, and second is Palp Green.
The best Han 2 Blue was 31. He went 4-3.
Well, it's interesting because we'll touch on this when we get into the Melbourne PQ. But second place Jack, who came second with Palpatine Yellow, he won the last Melbourne PQ with Han 2 Force Blue as well. So he has pivoted. At the Adelaide PQ, he was playing Palp Colossus, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I still don't think they've done enough.
Yeah.
I did hear a comment the other day that I think it might have been on the Overwhelming Barrage podcast. Underwhelming Barrage podcast, that the meta is wide open. Again, I think there is both things can be true at the same time. And I think it's potentially a little bit too early to say that it's wide open at the moment because we're only living in a 6-week meta here.
Yeah. And
people are just going to fall back into old habits and play their favorite decks from the previous meta rather than try to innovate and beat the meta that way.
Yeah.
And certain things, like, you know, you're going to see people go back to old faithfuls like Han 1 Green because, you know, you're not going to get a crate thrown at your Chewied piloted.
Which is damn sad, I'll tell you.
That is a nice feeling. I'm not going to lie.
Must feel shit. Having not played a Force Throw deck really myself, but yeah, so I think you're going to see some of that. But then there is a little bit it's kind of like what you're saying, Clint. It's kind of like new and old, but kind of mixed together. Like Han 1 Yellow Blue Force is becoming, I think, a bit more of a thing, and there's more of an option for it to be a thing, because I feel like if you're playing those colors, that blue, getting Blue Force stuff off, with Force Throw in, you kind of just had to pick red.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean,
you don't have to.
Your payoff with the Han 1 Blue Force is it's probably the best Anakin deck at the moment, because you can easily dump a villain card into your discard pile from the row. And you can still kind of pay 6 for Luke.
Especially because now it's funny, Force Throw gone, you don't have that easy option to, okay, I'm going to get Force Thrown, I'm going to discard my villainy card or my hero card if you're playing villainy, which will then trigger your Anakin. There's way less discard now, so getting that double Anakin off is much harder. So obviously Han 1 has been exceptional at that.
It's with those inbuilt discards, like Kylo 5 can still do it, because you can
Absolutely.
just discard from hand. Some of the heroic upgrades that they tend to discard. But yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag that you're seeing. Some of the old stuff, there's some new stuff, but it doesn't feel like a lot of set 5 new stuff.
Yeah,
it's existing stuff augmented by some set 5 things when it comes down to it.
For me,
and resource cheating is still huge.
I feel like we're back 3 months, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a shame that we don't have enough time to innovate, because I think there still are some interesting things or leaders that haven't been explored that are like just on the cusp there, but no one has the time to innovate them. Personally, I really like Obi, and I've had some mild success with Obi. Not won anything.
Last Saturday, you had a good showing.
I think it plays very well, but is there time to innovate it in the next 4 weeks for it to win anything? Probably not. You probably still want to be leaning into these discard decks and playing Anakin, because Anakin is probably still one of the stronger cards in the set, or going back to that blue-green villain shell where you can ECL or timely out a Vader to clear the board. And we are seeing that. We saw that yesterday in Melbourne PQ. We're seeing that in the sectors in Portland. That's been happening today. That people are playing these grindy decks, grindy value decks. Is what they're really playing, and they haven't really innovated. They've just added the good cards from Legends of the Force into decks that were already good. You mentioned Kylo before, Tibby. You're talking about Kylo 5, but what about Kylo 2, a Kylo 2 blue that, you can discard a hero card, pump your guy. I know Kylo 2 is an aggro character, but is there kind of like a mid-rangey version there where you want to go to 6 or 7, and Kylo's just like whatever. He's just a guy that comes out and burns down a guy or something, rather than putting damage straight into base. Like there are interesting new ways to build with new and old leaders, but everyone's just kind of going, nah, don't have the time, can't be bothered. Sectors are here, regionals are here. Let's just go with what works.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the Portland commentary. So I did commentary earlier today for round 7, and an interesting bit came up about Towson. So Towson's an interesting one, because I think it's a really good deck. I've got it built. I've been playing a little bit of it. It feels like it's dropped off, but it also kind of feels like it hasn't, because we were talking about it today, and Loopy from Late Night Gaming said something really interesting, which I probably didn't think about actively, but Force Throw was not like the main part of that deck. And it's blue-red villainy. It's mostly Force stuff. But like Force Throw was, when I was playing it with Force Throw was not the sort of main thing I was doing. Like, you've still got cards like Force Lightning, which is still a great card, especially in a Force-based deck that you can, pay 1, pay, 2 or 3 resources and do 6 damage to something. Like, it's still a really good card. And Force Throw, I don't think has affected the effectiveness of that deck, but it's a very difficult deck to play. It's not a pick up and play kind of deck. The sequencing matters a lot. You've got to kind of play it a little bit more. Whereas, an easy include would have been Force Throw to just, 1, pitch a crate and kill anything that exists. So,
or just sometimes discard your opponent. They have one card left, off you go.
Yeah,
like it's that
get
as
rid of
well,
them.
Yeah.
I mean, Tibo, you went top 4 at Perth last weekend with Han2 Blue.
Without force throws.
Without force throws. That was my question. Like, how did you find the deck operated without force throw in it?
The deck was fine, so I decided to stick with Han2 Blue for Perth PQ for a couple of reasons. One, I still believed in the deck. I still think the deck is good. The deck was good before this set. The deck is still good now, even without force throw. With it was exceptional. Without it, it's still good. I had a good day. I had a good time. I replaced Carabast, to be honest, instead of my force throws. So that just gives me a little bit of damage output. It plays very differently. Okay, you have to. The mental mechanic is much different because I have to think, okay, I want that much damage on my unit next turn so I can do this. Okay, so like it's much different. I think it takes a lot more practice than it does with force throw. Force throw was easy. You can make space for one resource with Han. You just play on the curve and you pitch it. So that was super easy with Carabas, and it costs 2, so it doesn't fit in your curve as well. It's much different. But I've had success with it, like over the tournament many times. Was like, okay, this feels perfect, right? It allows me to trade with a little bit more confidence as well sometimes, or to go into to kill stuff. So okay, now I feel good having 5 damage on my unit because then I can just kill basically anything with a Carabast. So that's felt good.
It feels like and you can speak more to it, Tibo, but it feels like it's more of a like force throw might have been a clutch card for people who maybe don't know how to play the deck particularly well. Because it is still, like we've said, it's a strong deck. There's no doubt about it. It's still performing. It still can do things that are great. But now are you seeing maybe a different metal of players playing it who are that higher quality at playing it? Because it's not just relying on a force throw like clutch to go, well, you deploy your awesome leader and I'm just going to go. I kept saying
pay 1.
I'm going to pay 1 and I'm going to throw away the exact cost for your leader's health, whether it be 8, 9, whatever, and you're fucked. But now you have to actually really play the game, and you don't have that crutch, for lack of a better term.
I think crutch is a good crutch or ramp, because I think it was allowing more average player to play at a good level, to be good with the deck. And I think for the really good Han2 player, it was either you win more condition or you use it to turn the game around. You don't just throw them out like that. You just use them very meaningfully. I think more average players could get by just doing a force throw and say, I'll kill a 4-3 or whatever, when a better player is going to say, okay, I'm going to have to keep this for that. And now
it's not like it won everything, even when force throw was there. Like, it won a lot of things, and we saw Quinlan contain sort of owning more of the win share. It was still a force throw deck, but it also operated very differently. Whereas, and now we've seen Quinlan kind of dropping off. Like,
Quinlan has disappeared.
Some big Quinlan players, like, just in Australia, like Tim Valletta was big in the Quinlan, and he said his words were, "The deck's dead." Like, it's not doing the exact same thing.
To Clint's point, I don't think the deck is dead, but I just think people don't have time to tinker and see, okay, what
can replace
because
it.
it's not just one card.
I think there's a different version of it.
For
like
sure.
even a force version, like
agree.
we've talked about with Cassians, Venestras, Falcons, just coming in ready, pinging. There is a different version of it, but again, as we said, no one can be bothered trying to figure it out. Like,
season's coming to an end, new cards coming out soon. But yeah, so I think that the deck is still strong. But I think in terms of share, in terms of the force throw decks, the Yodas, the Han2s, and the Quinlans, they've all dropped, and they will continue dropping. I think people will go back to more safer stuff.
And they're moving to other variants. Like, we're seeing a lot of Yoda green force is becoming a bit more of a thing.
I mean, even
now.
if you look at yesterday, what happened in Melbourne, there was not a lot of red force decks. There's a Kylo Ren, Tarkin Temple doesn't play force. I'm not really seeing like a lot of stuff that rely on that would have relied on force throw before. The Luke, they don't play that. Third Sister, they would have played force throw, but it's not really what the game is around. So there's not a lot of these decks. Yes, there's no Quinlan, there's no Han2, there's no Yoda red, I think, in the top 25 right now in Melbourne yesterday. So those old, like, those forced throw decks are just not present in the tournament yesterday.
I know Scott would probably agree to this point because he's talked a little bit about it. Like when he was playing Yoda, you know, he's playing Yoda Green now, and I think he liked Yoda Green prior, but in a force throw meta, you just got to do red. Like there's too many reasons to not do red, and if you come up against a red, more often than not, you're gonna take the loss there because it just does have that slight edge.
So yeah, we spoke a bit, like we briefly touched on Perth obviously last week.
So just sorry, Tivo, just to interrupt you there.
Please do.
If we were to go back 3 weeks and watch the FFG stream, what do you think should have been done now that we've got 2 weeks of results?
Kind of wish ECL went.
We can see where the meta's kind of forming.
ECL Target Town, maybe. I just feel like it just dominates still.
Is ECL dominating?
Actually, Data Vault is dominating the meta really in terms of green shares. Like we were looking at the stats a couple of days ago. I think
if you get rid of, the issue is you get rid of one, the other sort of just takes its place. I like the idea of getting rid of all three: Tarkentown, ECL, Data Vault, Gonskis.
I just think
see what happens.
It feels bad from a designer point of view.
That doesn't solve the Han 1 problem though.
Yeah.
Is there a problem?
No, problem's probably the wrong word, but the Han 1...
His looming shadow.
Yeah.
But the looming shadow that is Blake Moody from
Han
the
1
West.
and Jump to Lightspeed was very oppressive.
Very oppressive.
Oppressive is probably the wrong word.
No, I like it.
But it was very... Like, if they drew the nuts, which they did pretty often...
How many times did we sit across from the table, Clint, and I played a ship you couldn't address and put a Chewie on it next turn?
That's what it means, yeah.
And then like I'm hitting for 6 on turn 1.
And very few decks have an answer to that.
Yeah.
Unless
even
they
force through
even your best run, like you're putting 5 damage on base for the same amount of resources that I'm putting 6 on, and you're on a 25 health base as opposed to a 30 health base. You lose that
30
race.
or 33.
30 or 33. Yeah, I never
well.
personally played it with Data Vault, but I always played it with the 30.
Feels nice.
I like the Data Vault variants. You don't always feel it.
I don't know
that
that there is a Han 1 answer. I don't think that we need one right now. I know a couple of Han 1s were doing okay at sectors today. A green and a yellow were doing okay, I believe. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how sectors looks like. I think that's what the game designers are looking at as well. Okay, we have a big tournament coming up. Let's see what it looks like. I don't know. I think it would have been nice to refresh the meta.
The only thing with Han 1 is that it's a very high skill cap deck, so not everyone can just pick up and play it. And the guys that are at the top, especially of sectors that are playing any variation of Han 1, they've probably got hundreds of reps in with this deck.
I was going through the numbers. I think there was like 40 to 50 people on that deck, and you're not going to see 40. I'm pretty sure Loopy brought up the green breakdown, and I think there was about 40 people on some variation of Han 1. And I mean, there was one, double yellow. I think there was a small handful of blue
for sure,
but the majority of it was greens, and you couldn't tell quite clearly because most of them were Echo base, but then a couple were Data Vault, and a couple were just other green base.
It's a deck that rewards knowing its lines and when it needs to pivot, what to resource. Like there's so much going on with that deck.
It's important to call out, like you did, Clint, that it is. As I think as different of a leader between the two Hans, I think the Han 1, like, there's so many more decision points because you have to decide what thing you're going to resource down. It's not just a simple, like, and I know it's not simple because we talk about Han 2 blue is not an easy deck to pick up, but sometimes what you're playing might just be easy because you're just going to put 2 damage on it, and it's kind of
it curves out better.
It's less of a decision point because you've got to decide what am I going to put away from my hand to become a resource, and then afterwards, what am I going to defeat after it? Like, there's just much more decision points that can make or break the game.
I think that's where Han 1 blue might be a little bit easier to play because sometimes the resourcing decision points are a little bit easier because if you've got a Power of the Dark Side in your hand or a villainy card, you just resource that when you Han ability and then pitch it.
Super
like
easy.
Sometimes the decision's made for you.
Especially that early if you had it early in the game, 100%. Sometimes, like a Power of the Dark Side for 5 only feels good if they've only got no units and then they play one, you might play it. But those are going to be the exceptions rather than the rules. Most of the time, it's probably got a game plan. It wants to get that thing to the graveyard to play the Luke. I shouldn't say Luke because it's Anakin, and 2 I shouldn't say graveyard because we don't play Magic. But yeah, like I think the decision points in that deck can make or break it. And I think like we've each kind of toyed around with it. And it's not something that, unless you get lots of reps in, it's not as simple as just, pick it up, play it. Because you're not always drawing your Falcon and your Chewie pilot to just race in a game. Sometimes you don't get that. But
sometimes you just get the free wins off it as well.
Yeah.
Also true.
So look, if we look at, obviously Perth last week, the disappearance of Force Throw kind of helped some deck rise. I think Luke and Sabine is the prime example where I matched up into Luke, and Sabine is a much harder matchup without Force Throw, obviously, because that was such easy. It was fitting the curve nicely. You weren't feeling as good playing the Darksaber on Sabine. Now you're just like, I'm just going to slam it. He can't do anything. Our main confiscates, but not everybody does. Same thing with Chewie pilots and all that stuff. So now you feel a bit more untouchable, I think. And that's the same thing for a lot of players. I know I played against Team Valletta on Han 2 green. He was feeling so good slamming the General's Blade on his Adigalia because me dealing with a 7 health unit on turn 2.
Rough.
Still got him though, but yeah, you feel so much better about these plays, and I think, which is what I don't like. I don't like that you don't have to think about, okay, do I play this right now? Is it worth it? Or do I do other actions first to try to see what they do? You're just like, yep, I'll play it. You can't do anything about it anyway. But yeah, so that's enabled some decks to rise. We'll see in the long run what that looks like. Obviously, Melbourne yesterday was so like I said, no red force decks in the top 25, and a lot of control yesterday, which was very different than what we saw in Perth. We see Perth was a bit more aggressive, space heavy. And there was myself and Blake in the top 8 with more mid-rangey decks. The rest was relatively aggressive, a lot of pilots. Melbourne, very different. Our top 8 had some Boba, Darth Vader, so that's pilot. It had a Kira, 2 Cad Banes, a Kylo, a Palpatine, and an Iden. So a lot of
on the Cad
Banes.
Slower. It's really interesting that one of them was mid-range Cad and one of them was Weenie Cad. I had a quick look.
And the Darth Vader was Darth Vader blue as well. It wasn't yellow.
Yeah. So again, more controlly, which speaks volume on the meta over there, and how the game is able to evolve without that discarding component of Force Throw, which I don't love because I don't love playing against control. It just feels a little bit anti-fun-ish. I don't mind losing or getting my stuff killed. It's just the way control. Like Ollie, who won yesterday, playing against him is a nightmare because like removal, and that's just
you can't outpace it. You can't outvalue it. We saw
with some decks. Like if you're playing Sabine, you might. I can't.
Oh yeah, I think you can do a really good race and avoid some of that if you can go a little bit wider to avoid things like the powers. But like I've run into Ollie with my mid-range Cad, and you're right, it's not great, but it is kind of the rock paper scissors. Like if we're playing those mid-rangey decks, you are kind of supposed to lose to control. The aggro ones beat them out, but yeah, there has to be a balance.
Clint, do you think Luke's pick from last week of playing Sabine, obviously, and we know he's been a bit down in the set prior to the ban, do you think that was like a more safe pick, like I know the deck, or more of like a medical, like thinking, okay, I know that's what the field is going to be like, I think Sabine's going to thrive?
I think Sabine still gets free wins.
Amen.
Like, and that's Sabine.
That's the truth, yeah.
I think part of it, and we will talk to Luke later in the week about it. He's already done an interview with SWU
we'll play some games
his run. We're going to play some games with Luke this week. As a Sabine player myself, I was not comfortable taking Sabine.
You expected a lot of mirrors. I know you and I were talking about it.
Mirrors was one of them, and the other one was knowing the players that are there. a lot of Han as well.
True. And a lot of space aggro.
So it's either Mirror or people who know that there's going to be lots of Sabine, so they tech against Sabine.
Correct.
So is Sabine a strong choice?
So for one, I was not comfortable taking Sabine. And, you know, Luke has said this himself. He got lucky getting into the top 8.
That's true.
Very, very lucky.
If someone else had made a different decision in the final round of Swiss regarding intentional drawing, he would not have been there. And that would have been no Sabines in the top 8. So it was a very hostile environment for Sabine going into the Perth meta. And even looking at the Melbourne results, like the highest Sabine place was number 25.
God damn. I was actually going to say, I think I would have thought Sabine would have done well yesterday in Melbourne because of how slow the field looked.
Look, to be fair, if you look at the other decks, there are actually a lot of other aggro decks in there that aren't Sabine. Look, there was Kylo Tarkentown, which Kylo 2 Tarkentown that Fletch was playing. There was a third sister Data Vault that placed 12th. Grand Inquisitor Jeddah City 13th.
And there's also the third, the Cad Bane Tarkentown, the Weenie Cad.
Who the Weenie
third.
Cad. There's a couple of Lukes, Pilot Lukes that.
So a little bit of space aggro.
Tarkentown and Data Vault. So there were a few aggro decks that did place higher than the Sabine. You know, it could have just come down. If I look at his matchups, look, he played Palpatine round 1. Then he played Iden Data Vault round 2, which I think that's kind of like a 50-50. That's not a free win for Sabine. You've got to know how to play into that Iden Data Vault to beat that deck.
It's a big, it's not just racing to 30, and it's almost
40.
like versing a 40 health base because of all the heal each time.
Look, he didn't play into a lot of control decks. He played into kind of like mid-rangey and aggro mirrors. So, you know, he got a little bit unlucky in some of his matchups there, whereas, you know, if a couple of them went the other way, he would have been in the top 8. So, Sabine's an interesting one at the the moment.
It's still good,
got Sydney,
but it's
still good.
Do you think it's more like in previous sets? And we talked. You just mentioned, like, you know, Sabine still gets free wins.
Absolutely.
It feels like she doesn't get as many free wins as she used to.
I'll tell you what
seems to be a bit of the difference.
I just think it's the prevalence of space decks now. You don't have your win con of Wrecker, ECL, Overwhelm. You deal 5 or 6 plus a ping, and the game is yours. That's much harder to do now. Obviously, you have Space Wrecker, as we know, but it's one win con that's taken away from you. So, it's a little bit different.
Like, in Invader 4, like unless you get like a blue leader, or you can ECL in a Sabine's masterpiece. Like, what are the answers?
Talking about Vader 4, Luke last weekend lost against a Piet Red. Like, so, it's a space heavy deck where you
very space heavy, but
a bit slow.
That's also the kind. It's very tempo. The thing with that deck is, if it gets the nuts on you, it can fuck everybody's day.
Yeah,
like it goes hard into those the droids with the invisible hand. Like, you have to really manage that deck.
Yeah.
You can survive one barrage. You can't survive 2.
And then if
but even like if they've got the invisible hand out the turn before it, like you're facing an
it's a lot of damage.
OB. You know, I played against Adam at Canberra, and I was on a mid-range CAD, and I like, as much as I won, a lot had to go right for me, and stuff had to go wrong for him. And we talked about it afterwards. Like, he didn't draw into his ramp. I think it was one of the games at all. And I was able to just keep everything off the board that he couldn't do what his deck was supposed to be doing. And that's
I think
what got it.
I think that sums up Sabine a little bit as well, is that you have to have a little bit more go right for you. Whereas previously, probably leading into Jump to Lightspeed, it was a little bit more forgiving.
Yes, I think so.
I think you're seeing a little bit more of now. Again, like we just said about the Han 2 Blues. Now you kind of see the results pair up for those higher skilled Sabine players who know how to play into different matchups. Like, Clint, you made it to the finals in Adelaide. But not as many Sabines elsewhere, and like you've been on Sabine since the beginning of this game.
And my only losses that day were Han 2 Blue.
Yeah,
like
I was talking to Tebow about it yesterday. The only like main losses, we lost to the same dude, MJ.
I know,
and a great player, like just absolutely railed us. And like the thing is, Sabine is kind of the we joke dribbler decks and all that stuff. Sabine is a deck that you can pick up and learn to play the game with. Like my kids love it because just turn sideways and go to face. But when it comes down to it now, without getting those free wins, you kind of have to plan your stuff out, and things have to go right for you, and you have to play it right, knowing the lines, especially because there are decks out there that can outrace you at certain times.
And
I talked
admittedly, sorry, Tilly.
Okay. Kylo 2 Tarkentown. I remember that was a deck that you've struggled with a couple of times, but I also look back at some of the fields, like you and I have played that match a bunch of times, and I think as a Sabine player, the difference is it forces you to be the control in that matchup. And I think most Sabine players would lose to that particular deck and try and race it, whereas the good Sabine players know that they're not and play it entirely differently. And the ones who are good can pivot, and the ones who are just playing the same sort of thing over and over again, expecting those free wins, they don't know how to pivot and then they lose. Or they just draw the nuts, but that can happen all the time as well. Yeah. So I think caliber and skill.
Admittedly, I have not been playing as much Sabine, even this set, and I've
You're
kind of
Sabined out.
And we love you for that. You're branching out.
But it kind of is, because it's not. You do like the free wins that it gets, but now it just like Sabine hasn't dropped down. Other decks have come up to it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, where it was 60%, 65% into a meta before, it's now like 55%. And it's like, okay, well, do I want to be playing something else that has a higher win rate than it?
And the card pool is huge right now.
Yeah.
Like you used to have a very narrow field that you could expect certain things to happen. Now, the Sea of Jizz, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen in your first round pairing. You don't know what you're going to be pairing against. You don't know what it's going to do. And the card pool is so big that so many things can happen now. So I mean, it's not going to matter at rotation because Sabine is going to rotate out. But some of these decks who are, these leaders who are going to remain, a lot of their decks focus on set one, look at blue-green heroic force decks. What are they going to do when Luke's gone? Some of those big bombs, TiVo's going to cry. Like Luke unit is out of here. Like, so I think it's going to be really interesting. Like I'm super excited for rotation to see what kind of happens, because then we go from a bunch of these big bombs, like even Avengers going, Devastator's going, but we go to such a narrow field that it's going to be a massive reset to what the meta does, and I'm super excited for that.
Speaking of rotation, I think it's a good segue for us to look at a little bit at what's coming in the next few weeks. So obviously Secret of Power is coming soon, in about 6 weeks, I believe. A bit less, 5 maybe.
I think it's less, I think it's 4 or 5.
It's 4 or 5. Obviously we've seen a bit more of the set recently. We're starting to pick up in terms of the spoilers and things like that. How do you guys feel about the set? I know a few weeks ago we said we weren't too excited yet. We were a bit skeptical on what the set was going to look like. Has your opinion changed over the last few weeks, Clint?
Not really.
Okay.
I can't remember if I said this 3 weeks ago when we last podcasted and we talked about it. Theme-wise, it's not really hitting for me. And at the moment, as I'm like, this is another thing, is like, as I'm kind of moving off Sabine and trying to look at other decks, there's nothing that's really super, any new leaders that aren't really exciting me that much that I'd like to build around. I think it's just a wait and see what better deck builders than us come up with, to see what happens. We were talking about this off when we weren't recording just before, but it's also kind of hard to evaluate the set at the moment as the last set in this sort of cycle before rotation. And so the cards don't appear like super duper powerful, but once as Tivi said before, all the bombs and that rotate out, there might be some good bombs in there.
There might be some
like
different
hidden
bombs.
gems.
I mean, you see like the Krennic that got revealed today. He's not amazing, but it's an 8 cost 9/10 or something like that with Sentinel. Like it's a big bomb.
There's so many other options
be different.
that exist now that you're not gonna slot that in. At that
No,
cost.
not now. But when that rotates out, I'm saying there's over bombs.
Yeah,
you just look at it through a different lens.
Absolutely.
TV?
That's going to be super exciting. Look, I think it's too early to call obviously, like Clint said, I think it's too early to know really what this set's going to impact. There's some things, and I'm going to call myself out a bit here because I give Clint shit for this, but I'm doing it now. So it's okay. I know, historically, Clint will sometimes look at cards through the lens of a Sabine deck to go, what goes in here? Like Legends of the Force, there was one card, right? It was Yoda's lightsaber, and I don't even think that stuck around, really. It was cool for maybe a week. But I am looking through the lens for some of these cards through my love of CAD. And there's some cards in there that, like, I have to work out what the hell I'm going to take out to include. Like, because there's some
bombs. There is.
It's some good time cards. The new Dryden card, it's huge.
You'll do a little something about it. We'll try to do some of the spoilers that we like.
Actually, now that you talk about it, that new 2-cost yellow villain card that captures and puts it under your base is pretty cool.
That's gas.
The 10 cost. The 10 cost red black.
That's to me going to change how the game is played fundamentally.
Like it really is. I was talking. We were in one of the other chats, and Julian was there. Julian was talking about how it doesn't really how's it gonna win for this against, like, say, a control mirror matchup, and I was like, it's going to change how you sequence things, because you have to be worried if a red villainy deck is going up to 10, because normally on 9, a blue, green, black, most of the time, like, obviously it's different for each matchup, but staged on 9, they're playing an Avenger. On 10, they're playing a Devastator. If they have initiative and they've played a Devastator, and you've got 10 resources up, and they've got nothing on the ground, you pay 10,
which a lot of the times they won't,
and you win.
Yeah,
it's never their win con turn. It's always their clear, and then they start to get to their win con. It's over.
Interestingly enough, it's the same thing for, like, I'll take personal experience, but for Han, I have no space units, so I'm gonna have to reshape my deck a little bit to be like, okay, I can't expose myself to that too much. Ideally, I win before 10, but I don't always, right?
No.
So I put myself in a bit of a tricky position.
But the other thing you've also got to consider, like, and just like talk about post rotation as well, is that we're talking about these cards and what they might look like now and what they might look like post rotation. We got to look at the last 2 sets and what's come out when stuff rotates. So, a good example is Super Laser Blast.
Yep.
For 8. Now, all you've got that does a board wipe is
Nebula Ignition.
Nebula Ignition for 9.
Mm. And it's conditional.
And it's conditional. So it's it's conditional on the fact that it can be one-sided if you have upgraded units.
But if your opponent has just a thing with a shield and an XP on it, it's that kind of conditional.
It's not as good.
Yeah.
It's not as good.
It's not as good, but if control decks want to run it, they're going to go to 9 anyway, but they have to survive that extra
turn
round to play it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But there are a few cards that I think look cool. That Vizago, I think, is really cool.
It's going in CAD.
I think you have to make room for it. I think that's what's going to be tricky now, because we're getting at the end of a cycle, right, where we're going to have like 6 sets worth of cards, right? Yep. We're going to have 6 sets worth of cards. And that's the maximal amount of sets that we're going to have in one rotation at any given moment, right? Yep. So that's, you have the most card possible. So deck building is going to be hard. Obviously, it gives more variety. Obviously, there's deck builders out there that are way smarter than the three of us combined. In terms when it comes to putting decks together, and they're going to have a great time. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like. I'm interested to see if they're going to ban some more stuff before next set to try to allow some of these cards to make a smooth transition into the meta rather than just being gatekept by just the usual suspects, right? Or if they're just going to write it out and say, okay, let's see if the meta gets shaken up on its own naturally and organically with the new cards.
I think we can see that they're not averse to doing it mid sort of set. Like we saw the force throw ban come out sort of. I think we talked a little bit about it, and I think our prediction was they were going to wait till after sectors. After the first big event.
See how
I think we talked about it a couple of times. See how it pans out, but they didn't. They banned force throw early. So I think I think the one good thing about FFG at the moment is, well, it's not the one good thing, but a very good thing about FFG at the moment is that they're very responsive to the emerging meta. So I don't think they're going to be afraid to do something early. I hope there is some more bans at the end of this set prior to the new one, because I would
just to freshen up the meta a little bit.
Just to freshen up, I'd like them to give set 6 a chance while we still have all these other cards to see what happens.
So we'll see.
What that is, who knows? Definitely not us.
Yeah. I think one of the last things I want to touch on is how do you guys feel about the plot mechanic? Do you think it's gonna work? Do you think it's gonna flop?
I like it.
You like it?
I think it's really good. I think there's some really good cards in here that shake up some default things. Like I think some of the issue that I have in terms of the game and why I'll go through my waves when we talk about it, how we're feeling with the game and how we're feeling with our decks and stuff like that. When I'm playing against a blue deck and we're on 6 resources and I'm about to flip CAD, my thing is, well, you're going to Rivals for my CAD, so I've just got to let it happen.
They'll teach you.
Yeah. Whereas now, there's that card that you can plot out and they can't play events. Or the plot one where you can exhaust a resource. And so they go to 5 instead of 6 and they can no longer Rivals for you. Like, I'm hoping that we see some things that shake up what feels to be almost automatic things that happen now.
But it's tough because then you get into another cycle of like, oh, well, that plot card is the new automatic. Oh, well, you're going to flip your leader and play that off the plot.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
What I'm a bit afraid of. Go ahead, Clint.
Was it the Sintra that allows you to attack straight away? Here we go. So the 6 costs Sintra Kaz 5/5 plots. When played, you may attack with a unit. Like, okay, cool. It's like
attack with your leader, I guess.
Attack with your I mean, ideally, that's probably what you want to do is attack with your leader.
Like you have Anakin, you flip Anakin on 6, plot that out, punch through.
Yeah.
I think that'll be very, very playable. Look, I mean, it's an uncommon, and uncommons tend to be the most powerful cards.
What
in the
I'm
games.
a little bit worried about is that you can only do it once a game. You know what I mean?
Unless you play Trench.
Unless you play Trench.
Right. Doesn't Bale deploy multiple times as well?
I think so, yeah. I knew there was one leader that did it. I couldn't remember what one it is.
I think it's Bale or Garner.
Yes. So I don't know. That's my only barrier, I think, that I see to them making a real place for themselves in the meta is the fact that a lot of decks are not going to look at them twice. That's just I'm not going to pack a card. Obviously, you can play them from your hand, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the plot mechanic might be a little bit restricted. So
I think they have to make it restrictive though, because if they don't, it's just going to become degenerate.
Yep. Yeah. See that in some of the bigger decks. Like, I mean, I remember when Scotty was running his Ray Data Vault green, and he'd bring out a tech, and then all of a sudden his hand size, which sometimes is already quite big, and they're on like 10 resources, and it's like your hand size now is enormous. You have almost everything at your disposal. So maybe it is in response to that plot is kind of just when your leader deploys, but there are leaders that let you do it multiple times. We haven't seen everything. I think I just looked on thing and there's 75 cards currently that have
So we've
been
got about 100
spoiled.
to go, don't we?
74 cards left to go. 79. I can do maths. But remember those.
Really?
I think those also
usually go up to about 270 cards.
This set, according to SWUDB, is 254 cards.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
which is actually the lowest since Spark. Spark had 252.
Okay. Look, if I was to make a wild prediction, is that Secrets meta is just going to be what we have now with plot cards for the most part.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty safe to say. I don't, especially. I mean, look, early on, we're definitely going to see that.
100%, yeah.
Again, until we see some deck builders who are much smarter than us, maybe do something. But again, I don't know.
Like none of the leaders are like really knocking my socks off. The only one I think that might have some potential, and this will be because it'll be like a Quinlan replacement, would be Padme.
Really?
Yeah.
But
little ping.
I see a few being interesting. Like I like Dedra, man.
Dedra's going to be fun.
I like Dedra.
If they come through and ban Tarkentown before the next set, well, that's just going to kill Padme, like any sort of Padme deck.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because that's what you'll be relying on. That's what all the ping leaders rely on is ping you, Tarkentown. And we still don't know how good Disclose is going to be as well.
Well,
yes.
So I think the thing with the ping Tarkentown decks is a lot of it comes down to, especially in Quinlan, not having ever played it, Tebow can probably attest to a bit more, but in CAD, a lot of it used to be ping Tarkentown your first play, and you're sort of ahead.
Mm-hmm.
CAD has become a little bit less of that for me as of late. I don't find myself often just default Tarkentowning
the first turn play.
The first turn play. A lot of people are playing cards that just kind of bait it out. So you kind of save it a little bit more. Like I've watched people play a 3/2 in space. They'll ping it and Tarkentown it, and it's like you can just ping that next turn.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? So people are trying to bait it out. Whereas Padme kind of looks. She deploys quite late, so there could be. Isn't she the late deployer one? Did I make that up?
Is she 5 or 6?
I thought she was.
I
I've got it right here.
She might be 6.
She's a 6. She's a 3/8/6.
6. Okay, not that late.
I mean, her stat line is not good though. 3/8 on 6.
3/8. 3/8 on 6 Like
when you reveal or discard one or more card from your hand, you may deal 1 damage to a unit.
I think the whole thing is going to be about that. I feel like that deck's going to be a little bit more control-y trick sort of stuff than say CAD.
It's a Scott deck.
Scott was already talking about it yesterday. Although in the chat he's saying he doesn't feel as good, but he's on Dedra.
I think Dedra is it. Man.
Dedra looks good. I'm quite, and she's Imperial, so
I think
I'm already in. Let's go.
Look, admittedly, I have not done a deep dive into many of the leaders. I'm not very good at evaluating.
I think you'll like Luton.
So,
I think.
Maybe.
I think you'll.
I am enjoying my blue-green hero at the moment. So
blue-green hero phase.
It is my blue, my hot blue-green hero summer phase.
I mean, what is there for you next set? You're not going to play Satine. Maybe Bail Organa.
No,
I don't see you play more.
I don't think Bail.
Leia Organa, maybe. She's very similar to what Obi does.
Isn't Luthen green?
Luthen's red.
Sorry. What we should talk about real quickly before we move on from this while we're talking about this. This is the first non-heroic or villainy aspect leader was spoiled with DJ.
Yeah. Double yellow.
I think that's going to be really interesting. Look, we're not going to put a prediction on whether or not it's going to be any good, but I think it's going to be super interesting.
Will we do a tier list?
We
always have a good time.
We're always going to do a tier list. That goes without
because then
saying.
people can come back and tell us
all the leaders are in Scott tier.
You got Kylo wrong, Clint. No, we're doing a tier list. We're going to do it right. It's going to be fun. It's fun. We're having fun.
Dedra's going to be A tier. Calling it now. But yeah,
at a minimum.
Look, moving forward, I'm hesitant to call anything S tier ever again.
We did get that one wrong. We got the JTL one. We got pretty wrong. We put Kaz at S tier or some shit.
I think we had PA. We had
next
funnily enough. Hold up. we had thrown like S tier, I think we were right.
Just took a little bit to get there.
It took a bit to get there.
Scotty's made it happen.
But if you look at it, A tier. But who's S then from JTL?
No one.
If we had to pick
Gotta have one.
What's the best? It's not Kaz. It's Vader Pilot, maybe. It's been successful.
That's been quite successful.
Boba, maybe. Boba's been good.
Are we just talking specifically JTL or currently now?
Oh, currently now. So it's either Boba or Thrawn. The S tier from JTL.
There are people around the world taking Thrawn because of what Scotty built, and I think like that's awesome. Like,
I'll put Boba in A tier, but
reluctantly.
Boba's not really winning shit at the moment.
Yeah, he plays it.
He's in an awkward spot right now.
It's the most played deck, but it's not winning shit at the moment. So
it's in a very awkward spot.
I think he's got to adapt to the new meta a little bit. Gentlemen, I think that was pretty good for today. We touched on a lot of stuff. We will be back soon with either a Luke episode, which will be getting some gameplay with one of us, most likely Clint. TV and I also recorded a big collection overview video with the very famous Inferno 5, who tagged along, where we go over how we collect, what we collect, how we store, and a little bit of some of the hurdles that Star Wars Unlimited collectors might face, and kind of how we approach them. I have a bit of editing to do, so I don't know when that'll come out, but hopefully in a timely manner. In terms of what's to come next, also the Perth PQ next week, next Sunday. We'll be streaming and commentating the Penrith PQ. Clint, I believe I'm gonna say you're commentating tomorrow, but I don't know if this video will be out on time because you'll be commentating at the sectors.
Yes, I'm commentating the semi-finals of the Portland sectors.
By the time you see this video, it probably would have already happened. Unfortunately,
I would imagine
it will be in the future. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, follow the channel, comment. We always appreciate when you guys comment and tell us how wrong we are about everything. This is always very lovely. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.